The air in the Overlook's cavernous ballroom did not merely grow cold, it grew dense with finality. Ebenezer Scrooge sat as a statue upon his chair, a monolith of indifference before the ceaseless gray churn of his television's static. But the true power in the room was not the man, it was the living principle that surrounded him, a sprawling, breathing continent of paper and metal. This was no mere hoard, it was the physical manifestation of greed, not as a sin, but as a fundamental law, and it recognized the hotel's ghosts as trespassers on its balance sheet. The ghosts then emerged. They were malice made pattern, the leering woman from the 20s, the twin Grady girls with their vacant smiles, the hulking form of Delbert Grady himself. They approached Scrooge, their usual tactics of corruption meeting a wall of impenetrable disinterest. They hissed, they whispered promises of bloody revels, they showed him glimpses of frozen corpses. Scrooge stared through them, his eyes reflecting only television snow. Then the money stirred. A single stack of gold sovereigns, a foothill in the range of wealth, shifted. Not toppled, it slid. It moved with a slow, cold purpose, an inch across the parquet floor toward the shimmering form of the giggling woman. From the very air, from the substance of the coins themselves, came a sound, a deep, rhythmic, and terrifyingly deliberate laughter, like the sound of a man laughing, only with both the tempo and the pitch turned down by 50%. It was the sound of compound interest calculated in real time. The laughter came from the greed itself. The Grady girls froze, their coordinated menace broken. They looked at the advancing coins, then at each other, their first true emotion in decades, confusion, etching itself onto their pale faces. Another stack of bundled notes, this one of large denominations, began to unspool like a lethargic serpent, its leading edge creeping toward the twins. The deep, mocking laughter doubled, coming from both advancing fronts now. Delbert Grady boomed, "You are not the caretaker." He thrust a spectral hand toward the creeping currency, unleashing a wave of the hotel's corrosive history. It didn't matter. It was absorbed. The money drank the haunted energy, and where it was struck, it multiplied faster. 2 coins became 4, 4 notes became 8. The laughter deepened, gaining a grinding metallic texture. It was the sound of a debt being called due. The ghosts' every act of haunting, their every expenditure of malign energy, was not harming the intruder, it was increasing the principle. They were not attacking Scrooge, they were investing in him. The Overlook Hotel, through its proxies, was now accruing a metaphysical debt, and Scrooge was here to collect. The woman in the 20s gown tried to flee, to dissolve back into the memory of a party, but the laughter had pinned her in place, a sonic anchor. The slow, advancing wave of sovereigns began to engulf her. A coin pressed against her spectral ankle and stuck, then another, and another. She looked down in horror as the gold climbed her legs, not burning, but claiming. Each coin that touched her ceased its laughter and instead emitted a soft, satisfied click. She was not being destroyed, she was being repossessed. The television static hissed, a white noise serenade of approval. As the gold encased the weeping ghost up to her waist, her form began to change. Her beaded dress shimmered and resolved into the engraved patterns of a certificate of deposit. Her face, frozen in a final shriek, flattened and paled into the watermark of a banknote. She was becoming capital. The laughter echoed around her transformation. The Grady girls tried to run in opposite directions. It was futile. The unspooled river of paper money bifurcated, each branch moving with the same relentless slow-motion purpose, a stereo mockery. The money swarmed over the girls like benevolent metallic piranhas. They didn't scream, they faded, their blue dresses bleaching into the blue security threads of a bundle of fivers, their whispered forever and ever becoming the faint rustle of paper in a vault. Delbert Grady, the cornerstone of the Overlook's evil, roared in feudal defiance. He summoned the full force of the Overlook, the echoes of every murder, every broken mind, every winter of isolation.
He channeled it into a single annihilating blast aimed directly at Scrooge. The blast hit the wall of greed first. It was like firing a cannon into a black hole of compounding interest. The money ate the history, the pain, the violence, everything. It was all converted into liquidity. The blast was a down payment. A tidal wave of money, silent now save for that grinding, omnipresent laugh, rose before Grady. It towered, a cliff face of wealth, and then crashed over him. He struggled, a swimmer in a riptide of cold, hard value. Coins filled his mouth, notes wrapped around his limbs. He felt his essence, his very identity as the caretaker being foreclosed upon. The hotel's power fought for him, but it was a bankrupt entity fighting a sovereign wealth fund. As the last of him was submerged, the laughter reached a final, deafening crescendo, then ceased. In its place was the overwhelming hiss of the television static and the soft, settling clink and rustle of settling wealth. Where the ghosts had stood, there were now only new, slightly denser piles of money. The woman was a stack of ornate, faintly perfumed, scented bonds. The twins were two neat, identical piles of freshly minted coin. Delbert was a monolithic block of tarnished silver bullion, etched with faint, angry lines that might have been a face. The ballroom was silent, save for the static. The money had stopped moving. It had collected its debt. The ghosts were gone, not exorcised, but acquired. They were Scrooge's property now, their malignant energy securitized and added to his eternal portfolio. The Overlook Hotel itself seemed to groan in its timbers, a building that now understood, to its supernatural core, that it belonged to the silent man in the chair.